OPEC has decided to pump more oil. The world's top producers agreed to raise output by another 411,000 barrels a day in July, which weighed on crude prices over the weekend. Analysts say Saudi Arabia and Russia are hoping more barrels can make up for their falling revenue. Ashesha is actually joining in with more details on this story.
Well, yes, oil market will be in focus today, and this is on the back of the big announcement that came over the weekend, where OPEC Plus has gone ahead and increased the output by 411,000 barrels per day. This will be with effect from July. Remember, this is the third consecutive month of such announcement. It was already announced in the month of April that they will go ahead and increase their output by 138,000 barrels. This was for the month of April. For May and June, 411,000 barrels, and the same continues for the month of July as well. Remember, this was largely on expected lines. The street was penciling in output hike, and that is perhaps the reason oil was down nearly 1.5% last week, after a fall of about 1% that we had seen in the week prior. So largely on expected lines, but remember, this is a part of a larger scheme of things. 2.2 million barrels per day output voluntary cut was something that was announced by OPEC Plus in 2023, and this is being slowly unwound with effect from April, and now OPEC Plus will go ahead with this output hike with effect from July as well. So big announcement coming in for the oil market. Yes, this is largely in line with what the street was working with, but sentimentally negative for the oil market.
Getting us all those details and breaking down the OPEC Plus's move for us. But moving on, Peter Maguire, the CEO of AustraliaTrading.com, also talks about whether oil will continue to be in that range of $60 to $65 per barrel in the short term, or will it slip below that $60 mark. Now listen into the key factors he said we should be watching out for.
I really do think that WTI 55 will be the handle to really keep a very close eye on. Probably $58 to say $60 for Brent. I feel as though on the downside, should it break that number, there are many analysts out there, Aisha, saying it's going to be sub 50 come, that September, October sort of timeline. I want to get through the next 2 months and really get an appreciation what's going on with the tariffs and other geopolitical concerns, the Russia situation with the Ukraine and so on. So there's a lot of, as they say, a lot of water to pass under the bridge yet until we get a real indication. But I think it's going to be better than worse. Better for consumers. And if you're a producer, well, maybe, they're going to have a bit of a tough time.
Threatening swift retaliation after Trump doubled US steel tariffs from 25% to 50%. The EU says that the move adds further uncertainty to the global economy and has warned that countermeasures could kick in by July 14 or sooner. Trump made the announcement at a rally in Pennsylvania, linking the hike to a controversial Nippon Steel deal.
That's right. Let's move on and get some more news on the economy. Now, US PCE, that is Fed's preferred inflation gauge, also rose 0.1% month on month and softened at 2.5% on a year-on-year basis, meeting the expectations. Now, the reports have also revealed that personal spending data, which grew by 0.2% on a month-on-month basis. However, US goods import, that saw the biggest drop, falling 19.8% on a year-on-year basis.
Donald Trump has actually accused China of totally violating preliminary trade deal meant to pause retaliatory tariffs. Trump claimed the US kept its side of bargain while China slow-rolled compliance. In his true style, he posted "so much so being Mr. Nice Guy," which made futures jittery as his officials echoed the warning, calling China's move completely unacceptable. Besant agreed that trade talks with China has stalled, and we need to see that what actually happens between the much awaited call of China and US.
That's right. Like you said, a phone call could be in the works between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. Now, top White House economist Kevin Hassett says that both sides are willing to talk, though no date has been set as yet. Now, Hassett added that daily talks are ongoing and that they are going to have a wonderful conversation soon.
Yes, exactly. And US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is brushing off concerns that a recent court ruling weakening Trump's tariff authority could derail talks with Europe. In an interview, he said legal hiccups maybe caused them a week, but insisted negotiations are on track. He dismissed EU officials' claim of having leverage, saying, "You can't listen to silly people making silly comments."
That's right. Now moving on, Morgan Stanley predicts that the US dollar could plunge 9% by mid-2026, hitting levels last seen during the pandemic. The bank sees slowing US growth and aggressive Fed rate cuts totaling 175 basis points as key drivers. Now, strategists expect safe haven currencies like the euro, yen and Swiss franc to gain in this time.
Moving on, Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller sees a path to rate cuts later this year if inflation stays in check and the labor market holds steady. While upcoming tariffs may cause a short-term price spike and a modest job losses, Waller says Fed should look past if long-term inflation expectations remain anchored.
Moving on now, just ahead of peace talks in Istanbul, Ukraine has pulled off its longest range drone attack yet, striking deep into Russia and reportedly destroying 40 warplanes across 4 air bases. Codenamed Operation Spider's Web, the year-and-a-half-long mission hit Russia's nuclear-capable bombers using drones launched from hidden truck sheds. Now, Russia also launched its largest drone swarm of the war. Meanwhile, a bridge explosion in the border town killed 7 as both sides escalate just ahead of peace talks.
And Kanishka, what should have been a night of global football glory for Paris turned violent. Over 500 people were arrested and 2 killed during wild PSG celebrations after their first ever Champions League win. Police clashed in with crowds on the Champs Elysees, smashing shelters, lighting fires and injuring dozens. An investigation will determine if the fatalities were linked to the celebrations.
That's right. Moving on to some news updates on the auto sector. Now, Ford's recall spree isn't slowing down. The automaker is recalling nearly 30,000 F-150 Lightning electric vehicles in the US due to a control arm issue that could lead to a total loss of steering. That's on top of a much larger recall, over 1 million vehicles with glitchy rear-view cameras. From Broncos to Mustangs, the bug delays or freezes the backup feed, raising safety concerns.
After global stories, shifting back focus to India.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.